I understand there's some work-related calls that you wanted to talk about.
Right.
So tell me which one.
Well, out of the few hundred.
Okay. So sometimes when people come in, they have, especially if you've been on the job for a really long time, like you just said, there's a whole bunch, right? So the protocol that I'm going to use is designed to work with ongoing traumatic stress, which is great for first responders, right? Because
Okay.
you're in a job where you're constantly having that ongoing traumatic stress. So sometimes people come in and they have one event that really sticks out, and that's the one that they're struggling with, where others can't really pinpoint a specific call, and it's just kind of an accumulation of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you know that there's one specific call you want to work on, or do you feel like it's the accumulation of everything?
Both. I mean, yeah, the mass accumulation over almost 28 years. But today, want to focus on a major accident that I worked with a child fatality and teenagers that had some pretty serious injuries on it as well.
Okay. Yeah. So when you think about this call, what is it that stands out the most? Is it like symptoms that show up in your body, like pit of the stomach, tension, nightmares, anxiety, or is it that plus and or thoughts related to what happened?
Well, for me, the tension and anxiety is always there with everything.
Sure.
Carry all that up here. But for me, it's the thoughts. Even though this happened probably 20, close to 20 years ago now,
Yeah.
I think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say every day,
Right.
but multiple times
Yeah.
in a given year. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like maybe every month even.
Mm-hmm.
And you see bigger accidents on the freeway, or you hear that somebody was in an accident, which is all the time,
Right.
that comes up. And it's like I can go right back there. I can
Yeah.
go right back to that place and time and
Yeah.
feel all those things that I was feeling.
At the time.
And yeah.
Which is normal, right? Because when you experience that trauma and you don't do work on it and it stays there and it just accumulates, then every time that you are triggered, it's almost like the body is reliving that experience all
Right.
over again.
And then 20 years ago, on the job, even today, you don't deal with that in the same manner that somebody else in the public would. You
Right.
do your job, you push through, you take care of business, and you curl up and cry later or
Yeah.
whatever it is that you
Yeah.
do. So
Right.
it doesn't come out on the job,
Right.
but it,
It's after.
yeah.
And why? Because the nervous system has had time to settle down and then it realizes, like, oh, that just happened.
Yeah.
And now the body is beginning to connect the pieces of what you were actually seeing in front of you. When you're on the job, your training kicks in and you're able to do what you need to do on that call. And that's what happens for most people is it comes after the call is done and over. Maybe for a lot of people, even when they're already at home and they're in bed or they're with their family. And that's where it shows up
Yeah.
instead of on the call.
Can I
So
have that box, por favor?
yeah.
In law enforcement, we call this a clue. Right. Y'all may not need it, but I might.
I
It's
have
all
a
good.
whole bunch. So I was actually thinking about it as you were talking
Yeah.
about it. I was like, where's my Kleenex box? Okay, so the protocol that we're going to do is called PRESI,
Okay.
and it's for recent events and critical incidents. They added the OTS, which is ongoing traumatic stress. So, like we already said, for first responders, that's great because of the ongoing stuff that you guys are exposed to, right? So, I'm going to be to this side of you. The way we're going to start this is the very first question. I like to explain that it is an odd question because it's very broad. So, the question is, could you tell me briefly what happened from right before insert
Okay.
target that we're going to work on all the way to today.
All the way to today. Briefly.
Briefly.
Okay.
So I'm wanting, since we're focusing on just this one call,
Right.
I want you to tell me from right before that
Okay.
call came
Mm-hmm.
in all the way through. And I know you said that was 20 years ago. So all the way from then,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to today, how that
Okay.
has progressed for you to life today.
I was working deep nights on patrol. We read single units, and I was doing paperwork. It was probably 12:30 at night,
Okay.
and a nice pleasant evening. I happened to have
Mhm.
the windows down, and I was at a rundown old gas station. Wasn't even functional anymore. It had, little old typical almost broken one little street light,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Dark area town, older. I was right near a four-way stop, and was very quiet, peaceful. And then I heard just unmistakable roar of just massive metal crashing, twisting, and I knew that was a major accident, unmistakable
Mhm.
sound, and it yanked up my mic, and I was like 326. I just heard what sounded like a major. I'm gonna go look for it. And as I just started to put my car in gear, this white pickup truck just came flying down this dark road on dark old residential area, and just came to a screeching halt, I guess, when it saw me just past the stop sign, the young white guy driving it. And I zoomed over and I was like, hey. And he was like, hey, there's a bad accident. There's a bad accident over there. Somebody might be hurt. I don't know. You go check it out. And I said, stop where you're at. And he'd come. He's like, no, I got to go. I'm in a hurry. I was like, stop where you're at. Obviously, he was part of this, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And he's like, somebody's hurt. I swear. I think somebody's hurt. It's real bad. I swear. I swear. He's like, I got to go. I was like, stay right here. He takes off. And I was like, well, now I got a dilemma.
Mhm.
Do I go for him?
Right.
Or, I mean, if somebody's hurt, that's my first priority. I was angry. I was pissed because he took off on me, one. And so I continued on down that road, got on the radio, hey, possible involved suspect just took off this direction, yada, yada. And this is a really dark, beautiful old street, heavy overhanging trees, a rare street light along the way, very dark. And 100 yards in, I drive up on what's left of a hatchback two-door car, and it's literally wrapped around a massive pine tree
Mm.
to the point where the front end's over here, it's still connected by a little bit of metal on one side of the
Mhm.
passenger side of the car. The back end's over here.
Mhm.
Both the passengers, who are young male teenagers, are still strapped into their seats, which are sitting on the grass, and their
Mm.
feet are out. They're like kind of, the seats are broke back, and I
Mhm.
was thinking, oh, they're dead.
Yeah.
Initially, they looked dead, and I was
Right.
like, okay, it's possible code K, and I need this, I need this. You're calling for backup, and of course, it's a red board, which for us means that everybody is on something, everybody's locked up and tied down. There is no backup. Somebody's going to get there as soon as they can when they're priority. So they're starting IFD, which is the fire department paramedics, and I'm trying to get down, deal with these passengers. I hear one of them start to moan, so I'm doing English/Spanish because they're both Hispanic. I don't know if they speak English or
Okay.
not. And one is starting to panic, even though he's completely out of it. He has no idea what's going on. I'm trying to tell him, don't move, stay still. The other passenger is still out. Eventually starts coming around, and I mean, you can tell they're seriously hurt. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be Class A Adam. And by this time, there's people, smoke everywhere. People are starting to come out. And this is before major cell phone use. So people are coming out. I remember one guy comes out with a little snap and click and twist camera, and he's taking pictures. And I'm like thinking, what's your friggin' problem?
Mhm.
He's in his own front yard,
Yeah.
but it's dark, my lights are going, and in the night, how that light just scatters things, and it's like the lights from only my squad, right?
Yeah.
And some other guy comes up, and is like, hey, there's another a kid over there. I think he's hurt real bad. He's laying over there somewhere. And I said, where? I'm like, where? He's like, over there, over there. I'm the only one there, right? We're a couple of minutes into
Right.
this. So I'm like jogging over there. I'm looking. It's pitch black. And I'm got my flashlight. I see nothing. I come back, making sure nobody's messing with my passengers and they're still not trying to get up. And the guy's like, I'm telling you, I saw somebody. I'm like, I looked, I can't find them. So we both ran over there looking further, and several yards from the car, there was a little boy that was thrown. And he was laying on the pavement of a driveway. It was that same house, because this car was in the front yard of this house, but the driveway was ways away. So he's laying on the driveway, and his arms are bent, his legs are bent, and he's laying with his head sideways. Cute little boy, little Hispanic boy, dark hair, and just probably I thought he was about 10 years old. And he's just got that stare, you know. He had a huge gash in the side of his head. He obviously caught metal on the way out of that car somewhere, and it looked like gray matter or what, you know, just laid open head about that big, and you could see in a little, you know, deep. And there was a small pool of blood about this big, a little bit of blood on him, and I was like, he's gone. You don't have a massive head injury like that with a tiny bit of blood. And I was thinking, well, he was probably killed on impact because nothing was going. And I was like, oh, I want to do CPR. I want to do something, but now he's a crime scene. I can't move him, you know, and you're torn because you're thinking, well, damn, you know, should I? I mean, he's, you know, and I had my flashlight. If you've been around or used police flashlighting, they're just so powerful. And I had that literally right in his eyes, nothing. No movement, no dilation. His pupils were misshapen. They were just fixed. There was nothing, you know, I mean, no connection. And by this time I'm hearing, you know, sirens get close. So I'm thinking, okay, well, here comes the fire department. Somehow between dispatch and the fire department, and I don't know what happened, they got misrouted and we're on the freeway a few miles away. I could hear them. I'm like, IFD, I'm at this location. And they're like, okay, we don't know what happened. We're trying to get them rerouted. At some point, my backup shows up. I'm not going to name that person or relate to whether they're a male or female, but that backup showed up and was like, oh my God, we got to do CPR or something. I'm like, he's gone. He's gone. I want to do it too. And I could see the heartbreak, you know, for a moment in time. And it's like, you can't fix everything. You can't fix everything for everybody. And that person kept saying, I can't lose another one. I can't lose another one. And said, you're not losing another one. He's already gone. We can't do anything for him. I got 2 other people over here. I need help dealing with those 2 up there. That officer was a Spanish speaker. And I was like, how am I going to deal with this kid? I can't leave this kid alone. And by this time, I don't know what time it is. It's somewhere between 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning. And there's a lot of stuff we need to do. And accident reports were done by hand back then. There was nothing digital. And I was like, I need this. I got to get this stuff. I can't leave this kid here. There's all kinds of people out now. And I was praying the whole way through, of course, you know, Lord, if there's anything I can do. And I want to back up a second, because before my backup showed up, I remember I kneeled down next to him, and I was, of course, feeling for a pulse, anything, multiple times. That was one of the first things I did, was trying to feel for a pulse, look for breathing. And none of that, aside from the eyes, was after that. So, I mean, I knew he was gone. And I just, you know, I just patted his back. Patted him, but I didn't want him to die alone. And sorry.
It's okay. Take your time. Breathe.
I prayed for him. And I told him about Jesus, and that the Lord loves him. And this is gonna be okay. And I was like, Lord, please, I need to be able to take care of all this and do my job. And and this is like, again, this is like right before my backup arrived, like out of the middle of nowhere, right? I mean, there's people starting to come out of their houses. I'm back up and still looking for the fire department, waiting, and I'm like, I can't leave this kid alone. A man a Hispanic man comes walking down the middle of the street, and everything's kind of backlit, and he's walking down the middle of the street, and he's carrying a Bible, and he sees me, and he walks right up to me, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, what happens? Is there anything I can do? Can there anything I can do to help?" And I was like, I knew in an instant God sent that man for me, and I grabbed him, and I said, "Yes." I said, "I need you to stay with this boy and pray for him."
Yeah.
And he looked over and he said, "Oh my God." And he said, "I have a boy this age." And he went over there and he kind of squatted down, and I said, he's gone, you know.
Yeah.
And he got on his knees there and right kind of near him, and he started to pray, and he looked up and he said, "Oh, Señor, have mercy." And he started to pray in Spanish. And I was like, yeah, God's got this. And, for me, that just, I knew that God sent him for both of us, and that was going to be okay. And it just spoke volumes to me as a Christian, because, it just reminded me in that moment that, I knew God was there. And even in the midst of all of that storm, that tragedy, and that He is God of every tribe, every tongue, every nation. And it didn't matter that I couldn't understand what that man was saying.
Right.
And knew where his heart was, and it was okay. And then some other people, started showing up, and the backup showed up, and then another backup finally shows up, and FD starts to show up, and another guy comes up and is like, hey, who's that guy over there? And I said, "Leave him alone," talking about the Hispanic man that was there. I said, no, I said, "Leave him alone. He's my translator. Just, he's cool." And of course, none of this is coming out there, right? Sure. We're just taking care of business, doing everything, and medics show up, and they're going to try. God bless them. God bless the paramedics and the EMTs, because especially with the kid, they're going to try. And they're going to let the hospital call it if need be. And so, they're trying to work for him, and they put him in the ambulance, went ahead and transported. And of course, he was called at the hospital, called for time of death and all. Right. And Hit and Run is responding to do the crime scene on the whole incident. And then probably about an hour or so into this, media starts showing up. And whatever supervisor was out there, and they're like, "Okay, well, why don't you just hang out with the media?" And said, "Well, I want to go to his house. I need to talk to his parents." He's like, no, we're going to have somebody do that. And I was like, "I want to do that." And they're like, "Well, no, you're here. You got the paper on this, that you were here from the get-go. I need you to stay here and babysit the media until this all wraps up." And I was furious because I was like, no, I want to go, and I want to let that kid's mom and dad know that he didn't die alone. I wanted them to know that,
you were there.
Yeah.
And the man was there.
I was there with him, and that man was there with him, and then we took care of him, and never got to do that. And anyhow, it all wrapped up and did everything. So end of shift rolls around. It was like 6 a.m. I think. Everything got there tuned in, and I just felt so out of place, and like I was in another world. And I remember I went out to my own car, got in it, sat there for a few minutes, and I just cried. I sobbed hard. And I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to go anywhere. Yeah. And I just sat there for a while, and until other people started coming out of the building for shift change. I was like, well, I don't want to sit here like this and be seen. And so eventually I just drove home, and then it was just for an entire good week after that, I felt just weird. I just felt like I don't know, like the world was passing me by, like, don't y'all all know what just happened?
Yeah.
And I remember, gosh, it's probably more than a week later, in my squad, just whatever, driving down the road, car pulls up next to me. As it's coming up to the stop, I see kids at the back seat, and I looked over, and there's that little boy. I see that little boy's face look at me, and I was like, jeez, wow, that was that kid for a second,
Yeah.
just a random, another little Hispanic boy with dark hair. That's who I saw.
Yeah.
And, it's never obviously easy when kids die. So, you just, suck it up and move on, and
Mhm.
you deal with the depression and all of it that comes with that, with those calls, and your mind goes back to it, and it's not obviously as bad as it was then, but seemed like it was bad for a long time, and
Right.
wondering, they never caught that other guy, and I think they boiled it down to it was some kind of more than likely street racing going on, and because there's no that's a collision between those two vehicles. So just, I guess, like I said, over the years, that never goes away.
Mhm.
And not just that call, but many others. You think about what happened with that. Where's the family now? What's going on in their lives? And what kind of questions do they have that never got answered?
Mm.
And many other things like that. I mean, you're always around death and dying. And so, yeah.
Do you feel like that brings us to today? So after the call, you described kind of how that unfolded for you in the weeks after.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah. It will come to mind.
mhm.
I'll think about it. If I dwell on it, I'll come right back to this,
Right.
all of this. So, and I'll think about it and just try, whatever,
Yeah.
change my own subject, so to speak,
Right. Right.
or do something else, and get out of, that thought process.
Yeah.
Because if I talk about it, all of that,
Right.
it's like, it's,
It's
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's still right there.
Lives
Yeah.
in your body. So over the years, all the way to today, it still kind of pops in, but you think about the family unanswered questions that they might have had or have. And so that's how it shows up in your life presently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And you said this happened 20 years ago?
Oh, at least.
Okay. Thank you for going through that. So the next questions here are part of the protocol.
See,
Okay.
now my stomach, side note,
Yeah.
is
Tight.
I feel the anxiety when my
Yeah.
hands are buzzing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. Do you practice any diaphragmatic breathing?
I do.
Okay.
I learned that from y'all.
Okay. Just try to keep your feet flat on the floor,
Mhm.
but just try to get your bearings back. Breathe with your diaphragm. Okay. Feel that tissue, the feeling of it. So, these next questions are part of the protocol, and they're important just to measure your progress since then. Okay. Any life-threatening substance use?
Oh no.
Okay. Any suicide attempts
Currently?
since this? Yeah,
Ever?
currently.
No.
More currently.
No.
Okay. Any form of self-harm?
No.
Okay. Any assaultive behaviors?
No.
Have you ever been?
Previous anxiety that built up to suicidal ideology and depression and heavy
Mhm.
anxiety, and some attempts many years ago,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
but not nothing, and
Not
no.
because of this or yeah.
No, that was just one more thing in the mix
Right,
that
right.
kind of
So
led into all
you
that. But go
you've
ahead.
had those experiences, but not
Yes.
recently.
No, no, not in
Okay.
a long time. Many,
Okay.
many, many years. So.
Okay. Diagnosed with a dissociative disorder? All right. Do you know how to calm yourself down without using alcohol or drugs?
Yes.
And how do you do that?
Breathing and just, well, praying, of course, talking to the Lord. Sometimes just peaceful, happy place if I can get there, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I do have anxiety. Prior, in pretty significant heavy depression, not any of that now in many years.
Yeah.
And I've been told that I have had PTSD,
Okay.
either had or have, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
that.
Do you feel like you have adequate support networks, like family and friends?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I do, yes.
Okay. Are there people close to you who make you feel unsafe or that you're in danger?
Oh, no. No.
Okay. Do you think that you could ask for help if you needed it?
Yes.
So this next part is telling you about EMDR therapy and
Okay.
giving your
And can I just
consent.
put on a side note before we get
Yeah.
into that? There were, many times over the years, not only from this incident, but many others where you talk about people you feel safe talking to and this and that. No, you didn't have that back then.
Right.
Because we came up in that culture of you don't bleed in a shark tank.
Right.
And, we just got a friend or two here and there that you can kind of, you talk shop about all the stuff and the calls you've been on, but
Yeah.
you don't necessarily let people inside and just see all this. You don't
Right.
just dump
Yeah.
all of your
Stuff.
stuff on them.
Yeah.
You didn't do that back then, and today, largely you don't do that. It's taboo in a lot of ways. It's better than it was in the culture, but
Yeah.
probably it would have never come to this kind of a head over the years if all of these things had been in place that you
Right.
have people to talk to and think, oh, okay, so I'm not crazy.
Right.
That was normal. I just didn't know it.
Right.
And instead of dealing with it because you didn't know you had to,
Right.
you just let it build and build until you can't take it anymore.
Yeah, which takes you
So,
into that idea that something's wrong with me. I'm crazy.
right.
Because
And
you don't
you're
know.
not. And of course, yeah,
Right.
sure, I was thinking those things back then,
Yeah.
just like everybody else has experienced the same thing
Right.
as I have.
Nobody talked about it, so you
No,
didn't
and
know.
it's like, why? Why didn't we have all of this stuff
Right.
20 years ago? So, yeah, just wanted to answer that question fully. So,
Thank you. So, when adverse experiences occur, it can get stored in the brain with the original images, feelings, and body sensations. Kind of what we were just talking about, right? EMDR therapy allows the brain to reprocess the experience, not relive, reprocess. Okay. It is your own brain that will be doing the healing, and you are the one in control. Okay. So, do you accept treatment?
yes.
Okay. All right. So, we're going to go into these next parts are more about the setup of EMDR as far as positioning. So right now you can see that you're kind of at my side and I'm kind of at your side. So this is what we call ships passing. So if in a future date you're sitting over here, I'm always going to be to either side of you. Okay?
Which is cool because when you're the police, I can't speak for any other first responders. We drive up on our squad cars and we're always
Exactly.
ships passing. So,
Exactly. Yeah. So this is how
gotcha.
we are. Okay. So this is always going to be our seated position. You'll hear me refer to BLS, and what that stands for is bilateral stimulation. There's different types of bilateral stimulation. So I'm going to show you the different types that we're going to use. Research supports that eyes are the most effective. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to do eyes. If for some reason that's too hard or you can't tolerate it, then we can switch to some of these others and I'll show you what those are. Okay. So we're going to just do some practice rounds of each one so you'll know what they look like.
Okay.
Okay. So as far as distance, does this feel okay for you? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to move my hands back and forth and I want you to follow with just your eyes. Try not to move your head back and forth. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to do a round. That's it.
Can I ask you a question? Does it matter if it goes further on one side than it does on the other?
So ideally, we want it to be bilateral, but it's probably not going this far on this side because of our.
Okay.
If you moved over a little bit, I could probably do a bigger range. So I don't want my fingers to cross in front of me because I don't want it to be distracting to you.
Okay.
So that's why you see me kind of leaning this way. So let's try that again. Is that better?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So that's probably where I'll be most of the time.
Okay.
And sometimes I may change direction. And so if I do, it's usually in a diagonal. And so this is what that would look like.
Okay.
Okay. So you'll go here to here.
Okay.
Okay. The other direction would be here
Okay.
to here. Okay. All right. The other types of stimulation are not eyes, they're tapping. So you would lock your thumbs together
Okay.
and bring your hands to the tops of your shoulders and fingers towards the top, fingers at your collarbone, and then just tap one hand at a time.
Okay.
And then making sure that it's one hand at a time, not together,
Okay.
and fast.
Fast.
So
Okay.
research also supports that the faster the bilateral stimulation, the better.
Okay.
Okay. We do slow when we're wanting to install some type of resource. And what I mean by resource is any type of tool or technique that you can use to help bring you back down. The other is just kind of tapping the tops of your legs. And then the last one would be the tops of your feet, just tapping them on the floor as if you were marching. Okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. Questions about that? So, to help you just notice the experience, I want you to imagine watching a television screen. The feelings, body sensations, and images are just the scenery going by. Just let whatever happens happen, and we will talk at the end of the set. Okay? Just tell me what comes up and don't discard anything as unimportant.
Okay.
Any new information that comes to mind is connected in some way.
Okay.
So when I do a set,
Okay.
I do this and then I stop. Every time I do that and stop, that was a set. So after a set, I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath and then I'll ask, what do you notice now?
Okay.
Okay. What I want to know when I ask that question is what I just described. I want to know, what are you noticing right now? Okay. A lot of times things will be blank, like there's nothing. That's okay too. Just let me know it's blank. There's nothing in my body, thoughts, images. Okay.
Great.
So this next part is the breathing techniques. So we'll begin and end sessions with breathing. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you some self-soothing techniques. I want you to start with your eyes closed. Go ahead and close your eyes or have them partially closed, whichever is more comfortable.
And I just want to state for the video, what is an approximate length for, because you're doing a lot of explanation to me. So like, next time that I were to come in for a therapy session, it would probably be a little shorter.
So we would jump right into the parts that we're working on.
Okay.
The first session is always more of the explanation because that's what the protocol calls for, because we want you to understand what we're doing. But the next time you come in, everything that we've talked about from here and prior, we won't go over that again.
Okay.
Next time we'll just jump right into phase 4, which is the desensitization phase.
Okay. So the expectation would be obviously that when you come in for therapy on visits, you've got rapport sessions and then you've got an initial session and then
Right.
things will move a little bit faster after that.
So, with your eyes closed or partially closed, imagine that you have a balloon inside your stomach that inflates when you inhale and deflates when you exhale. Okay, try to put all your attention into your breathing. If anything distracts you, just gently bring your attention back to your breath. Okay, I'll let you know when to stop. Okay, please stop and open your eyes. Okay, how is that?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, we're going to do one more breathing exercise and then we're going to move on to phase 4. So again, with your eyes closed or partially closed, go ahead and do that. So mentally repeat to yourself as you inhale, I know I am inhaling. As you exhale, I know I am exhaling. And just focus all your attention on this exercise. And again, if anything distracts you, bring your attention back to the exercise and I'll let you know when to stop. Okay, please stop and open your eyes. How's that? How do you feel right now?
A little anxious.
Manageable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to talk about the SUD scale. Okay. SUD, subjective units of disturbance scale. Okay. So sometimes I'll ask how much disturbance you feel disturbance is characterized by unpleasant and or annoying emotions or physical sensations in your body. So for this reason, you need to observe your body every time I ask how much disturbance you're feeling. So to measure the disturbance, we're going to use a scale called SUDS.
Okay.
And it goes from 0 to 10, where 0 is no disturbance or neutral,
Okay.
and 10 is the most disturbance that you can imagine. Now, with first responders, I've learned that I have to explain that 0. So you told me what happened on this call.
Yeah.
It can feel really weird or uncomfortable to say 0 disturbance. Doesn't bother me. That 10-year-old boy died in the way that he did. That's not what 0 means. 0 doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean
Right.
that it's no longer important. It doesn't mean that because you're doing this work on it, that it doesn't
Right.
matter anymore. That's not what 0 means. 0
Right.
means that you can acknowledge that that was the reality of what
Right.
happened.
In the moment that we have a job to do.
Exactly.
And
But you're no longer carrying the weight of all that emotion and stuff that comes with it that you've been carrying for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
So you can accept for it for what it was, and you can remember the feeling and that it was a sad situation. And even when you bring it up after, you can acknowledge that it was a sad situation, but there's no reason for you to continue to carry this heavy emotion that has come and has been there for the past 20 years. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And so when I answer to 0 to 10, I'm answering for what's happening in the moment,
Yes.
not for what happened back then.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Phase 3 is where we're assessing the target or the part that we're going to work on. Okay. So I'm going to read it first. And then the second time I read it, I want you to actually do it, but I want you to know what's coming up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so with your eyes closed or partially closed, run a mental movie of the whole experience from right before the beginning until today, or even looking into the future. And at the end, let me know the worst part. Okay, so basically, what I'm asking you to do is you've already talked to me about what happened. I want you to run a mental movie of what happened from right before the call came in all the way to today, or even looking into the future. When you're done running that movie, you'll open your eyes and then you'll tell me what the worst part is.
Okay.
So I'm going to read it again, and then as I read it, I want you to do it. One more thing about that. So a lot of times when people run their movie, there are several worst parts that show up. Okay. That's okay. Just pick one because we're going to get through all of them, and they don't have to be in chronological order. You ready? All right. So with your eyes closed or partially closed, run a mental movie of the whole experience from right before the beginning until today, or even looking into the future. And at the end, let me know the worst part. Okay.
Good.
Okay. What would you say the worst part is?
Oh.
So there may be multiple. That's okay. Just choose one to start with.
Just being angry that I couldn't save that little guy. And I still, to this day, even though he was gone,
Right.
I'm like, if I should have, I just, maybe I should have tried to do CPR. And what would have that led to? At least I know I would have tried something else, one more thing.
Right.
I mean, but then you've got, you know, medics
Right.
and doctors.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
but still, you think if I just,
Okay. So the part.
why didn't I? Why didn't I? Why didn't I just do it anyhow?
Okay.
Why did I have to be so, he's gone, there's nothing I can do about it. I know he's gone. Why didn't I just throw all that to the wind and do it anyhow?
Okay. So the worst part for you is anger of the feeling that you couldn't save him.
Pain. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you ran this whole movie, and from that movie, you took this part. For right now, this is the part we're looking at. All right. So, what image represents the most disturbing aspect of that part?
What image that happened?
Yeah. So, you said the
Oh,
worst part was anger.
probably. I guess just that image where I'm like in a moment in time having this battle with myself. Obviously, this did not last for minutes, but it was like seconds
Right.
where I'm like, just I want to just turn around and throw him, but can I move him? Should I move him? Am I going to make it worse if I move him because he's all contorted?
Right.
And if I move him and I get up and I kill him because I moved him, but he's I know he's already dead.
Right.
But it's like you just all of these things are just going through your head in a second, and you want to fix it, and you can't. It doesn't
Right.
matter what you do. It's like you're screwed,
Right.
you know,
So, the image
because
would be of you battling yourself
yeah,
and the thoughts. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. What words go best with that image of you battling with yourself that express your negative belief about yourself now, not back then, right now, as you bring this up?
Now
Mm-hmm.
words. Oof. I mean, frustration, pain,
So those are emotions. So what negative belief?
negative belief.
Yes. So you have this image of yourself
Yeah.
over this kid battling with all these thoughts going through your head. What words best describe the negative belief that you have about yourself now when you bring up that image?
Oh, I didn't try hard enough.
Okay. Okay. And if you feel that you didn't try hard enough, it sounds like you already said it. I should have done something more. Do you feel like that fits?
Right. But
Okay.
still, there's still that battle there
Right.
between there was nothing else you could do and, well, but you should have. It's always
Okay.
that lingering what if
Okay.
battle.
I didn't try hard enough. Is
Yeah.
that what you said? Okay. When you bring up the image of you battling with yourself and those words, I didn't try hard enough, or I should have done something more, what emotions do you feel now?
Still the frustration and
Okay.
the whole pain of it all that, you know, basically watching somebody die or you're they just died and you're
Helpless?
yes,
Okay.
completely helpless.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So now I want you to observe your body. And on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is no disturbance or neutral, 10 is the most disturbance that you can imagine. How much disturbance do you feel now?
I got a 7.
Okay. And where do you feel that in your body?
Uh, anxiety, just tension, stomach really rigid right now. Just a lot of just
Stomach and shoulders, it looks like.
yeah.
So I want you to bring up that image of you battling with yourself, those negative words, I didn't try hard enough, or I should have done something more. Notice where you feel it in your body. Okay. And follow my fingers. Okay. Good breathing. Okay, take a deep breath. Let it out slow. Slow on the exhale. Good. Really good. What do you notice now?
I was talking to myself a lot in my thoughts, which I have done before.
Mm-hmm.
When you asked me to focus on, what I was thinking, I didn't try hard enough. And conflicting thoughts coming up about, no, I did amazing. I was there on that scene by myself for several minutes before anybody got there, including IFD. And,
Right.
I gotta spread out crime scene. I've got live people who are critically injured
Right.
and somebody over here, and I cannot be with both of them at once. And
Mm-hmm.
on one hand, it's like, well, you did awesome because you're trying to deal with these kids and talk to them, talk to them in Spanish, the normal part of that
Yeah.
job, making sure people try to understand you.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. So I just
what
want you
I
to
could for him.
I want you to notice that you did amazing even when you were there by yourself. Okay? Just notice that. Good. Good. What do you notice now?
First backup that arrived, that officer that was having a struggle, and again with that officer, that was only a moment in time. That wasn't anything long.
Right.
And me trying to remove that officer from that part of the scene, saying, hey, I need this, this, and this. Can you go deal with that? Can you go deal with those two teens in the car?
Yeah. So you're
And
noticing the different parts.
trying controlling the scene,
Right.
and you're trying to help your partner out. And it was all good. I mean, that officer did a great job. No.
Right. So I want you to just notice the different parts. That's what you said initially. I noticed just the different parts of the call. Okay. So just go with that. Good. Deep breath. Out slow on the exhale. Good. What do you notice now?
The anger.
Yeah.
And anger's always been there.
Where is it showing up? Where do
In
you
my
feel it?
body.
The anger.
In my brain. I don't know how to describe that.
That's okay.
Just where
Just
you
noticing
just want to
anger.
lash out.
Yeah.
And
Just go with that. Just notice the
the
anger and the
girls that came out
feeling.
of the house,
Yeah.
these little girls having a sleepover, some teenagers, and they're laughing and partying on their front porch. It's in their yard. And the paramedics had already, scooped up the little boy and taken him, and the other kids were gone, and you're still just a massive accident in their front yard. Stuff everywhere because it hit that tree, mud. There's blood and mud all over the driveway where the little boy was. And these girls came out. They're giggling, talking, and having fun, and keep creeping closer and closer to the driveway. I'm like, girls, y'all need to stay out of the way, go back to the porch or go back inside. And this one snaps an attitude. Well, this is my house. I'll do whatever I want, and I'll come outside. And I was furious. I'm not gonna say unloaded on her, but and you hit police mode, and I'm like, get back in your house right now. Get on your porch. Don't come over here. I don't care if it's your house. I'm yelling hardcore at them. This is a crime scene. A little boy just died in your driveway. And they were like, and I'm like, you're not gonna have a party in my crime scene where this little boy just died.
Yeah.
I don't care whose house it is. You're not coming over here
Yeah.
in this whole area. And they were like, oh my God,
Okay.
somebody died. Oh my God.
Yeah.
For real? And I was like, yes. And then they all just super quiet, shut down, turned around, went back to the porch, and then they went in the house and shut the door. And I was like,
So I want you to notice the anger.
yeah.
Okay. The lashing out that you said you just want to lash out. Notice where you feel that in your body. Okay. Follow my fingers. Just notice it. Don't focus on anything. Just notice what's there. Deep breath. Good. What do you notice now?
You know, when you're dealing with, things like that, and you tell somebody to do something, it's not because I'm standing out here for my health,
Right.
and they want to have an attitude when you try to tell them nicely to do it.
Right.
And then it's just, oh. And then with all of the emotion of that whole scene that you are trying not to let out anyhow,
Right.
right? You're sucking all that up, and then it's like you're holding back a river, like a dam, and you just you want to explode and you can't. You just want to, I don't know, you want to run, you want to go to the gym and do some defensive tactics, or whatever, do something to
Get that
physical
out.
to get all of that out, because you're just holding it all in. And even though, yeah, I yelled at them, that wasn't like any kind of full on crazy
Sure.
dump or anything, but
Okay.
they got the tip of that iceberg.
Okay. Good. Just notice that. Okay. Just go with notice that. Good. Slow down the breath. Okay. Deep breath. What do you notice now?
Wow. Sorry.
Okay.
Just, I kept thinking that all of that anger and pain, and several seconds into that, I kept thinking, God, I just want to be free of that. I just go to the gym. I just want to work it out. I want to get rid of it. I just want to be free of that. I just want to get rid of that. God, when am I going to be free of this? And kind of right towards the end, it just kind of popped in my head that you are free of it. You're not there anymore.
Yeah. Go with that. Notice that. Good. Notice this is just a memory from the past. It's already done. You're here in this room in the present day. Just let it pass on through. Good. Deep breath. What do you notice now?
Um, just thinking about being free of this, and it's funny when you think about all those thoughts about, where are those people, the survivors at, and I don't have to worry for them, really. I don't have to worry for them anymore. Why am I worrying for them? They're on their own path wherever they are, and I I can't, and haven't been. I can't be there and me worrying about walking that path with them, hoping that they've made their peace along the way. The parents, one of them is a cousin wherever they're at, um, and the little boy, I think he'll be there someday in heaven, and maybe we'll have that meeting someday. But I can't walk their path for them. Is what popped into my head.
Okay. Yeah, go with that. Good. Go with that. Good. What do you notice now?
Um, just trying to think positively with it, and just continue to move forward with that and all of those things like it, many other things that I've dealt with over the years, and and been a part of, and not just that little boy, but other people you've lost along the way, and good things that have happened, and the good that comes from this, and trying to, sorry, help. I mean, which is, why, we're doing this, and so thankful you agreed to do it to help other people who are dealing with all of this and hide it inside and can't get it out all these years, whether they've been there for 6 months or 30 years. Just thinking that all of this will help somebody somewhere.
Yeah. Yes. Go with that.
And maybe save them from a lifetime of it, dealing with it.
Yeah. Good. Go with that. Just notice that. Just let whatever happens happen. Don't force anything. Just notice. Deep breath. What do you notice now?
A lot of anxiety, a big anxiety rush.
Okay.
Actually felt a little dizzy with that. The blood pressure went up, and thinking about putting this session out there. And even though have been a part of peer support and talked with a lot of people, shared other people, other officers, as they have told their story to me. And that's the one thing, right, that all of us as first responders are afraid of, is all of this and everybody's seeing it, right? And, I think it's important to know for everybody watching and listening that you're not going to be necessarily putting your story out there like this. And if you do one day, you go for it. More power to you. Your fellow first responders need that, which is why we're doing this. But if you go to do this therapy and you don't ever want to share that with anybody, that's okay. You don't have to share any part of this. For me right now, that's that anxiety of putting all of this out there. That is part of dispelling that myth that, what, there's support out there, and people that are gonna, they're gonna have your back and love you through this and listen to you. People that understand you, that get where you're coming from, good therapists who know how to deal with first responders, and your fellow first responders who are in good, solid peer support programs and seeking out training to help you in the best possible manner. Have the courage to go and sit down with somebody and start getting all this out and start unwinding it and working it out so that you don't implode on yourself, ruin your own life, and destroy your family, and let a first responder career destroy your life in the long run. Don't do that. Don't wait for things like this to happen and accumulate over a couple of years, 5 years, 10 years, a career. Don't do that. You start dealing with this now. Even if you think, oh, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me. That's how you get here, right? That's how you get here, is by believing the lie and listen to the Miz and living under the stigma that, oh, people are going to think I'm crazy if they find out I'm talking to a therapist. That's not true. That is you taking care of your life and yourself so that you can continue to love and care for other people and take care of your family. Because of this job that you're in, it's going to eat away at you and it's going to try and destroy you. If you let it destroy you, there's a real good chance you're going to let it destroy other people in your life. If you don't want that, deal with this head on and be that beacon of light in your job, where you are running to save people, regardless of what the call is. Is it the police, fire, dispatch, EMS, paramedics, detention officers, whatever your job is, you are dealing with some hardcore stuff. And it never goes away. It never stops. Trauma after trauma after trauma, right? So be that beacon of light where you're willing to go get help for yourself, and then you reach out, you grab a hold of other people, you get their back, and you pull them in and you show them the way to deal with this. because it's important, and that's how we help each other. That's how we build our bonds in this family, instead of dumping all over but everybody and saying, well, I'm not like that. I don't need to talk to anybody. That's if you're weak. That is some old school thinking. Get rid of that. Talking like that, you may inadvertently shame somebody else that really needs to get help, and you don't want to unknowingly talk somebody out of getting help that really needs it. So let's focus on the positive and learn to start helping each other. And this is just one of many things that we can do for ourselves, the EMDR and other therapies, to help out with that. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get back to it and finish up.
So we're not going to finish this target today.
Okay.
So does this feel like a good stopping point for you? How do you want to move forward? Do we want to do multiple sessions so you can have like the whole complete thing? Or tell me
Right.
what you want that to look like.
Yeah, I would love to
Okay.
be able to do that. And I think it's important. It takes some time.
Yeah.
It took us a long time to get this way. It's going to take some time to unravel. So,
Yeah. And I think it's important to highlight that sometimes people can come in with a single incident and they can knock it out in one session.
okay.
But sometimes it does take multiple sessions, and that's okay.
Right.
I mean,
Right. And I
there's
have done some EMDR.
Yeah.
I have done EMDR with Barbara before, a couple years back, for some different things. And I loved it then.
Yeah.
And it was great. And this was a much bigger one that we have not talked about before.
I like to help reassure people of the power of EMDR. I've had first responders that come in and they do EMDR, and after the first session, we scheduled a second session, and they come back for the next one. And I've literally had multiple people come in and stand at the door at the beginning of the session. They don't come take a seat. They stand at the door and they're like, I feel so much better after that first session that I don't really think that I need to be here anymore because I feel so much better. And the only reason I came is because I have an appointment and I didn't want to cancel. But yeah, so I just wanted you to know, like, I feel so much better. So I just listen, let them finish, and then I say, well, why don't you just sit down and let's just see what happens?
Yeah.
Because they're not done with the protocol. And it's really important that we go through all of the protocol instead of
Absolutely.
getting, oh, I feel better, so that means I can stop, because there's still
And then some
other
things
parts.
will start coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it never fails. They sit back down and we continue the rest of the protocol, and then other stuff comes out.
Okay.
And so it's really important to go through and finish the entire protocol, not just stopping just because you feel better after the first session.
Okay.
Now, I will say that doesn't happen for everybody, right?
Right.
They recognize that I have a lot I need to work on and they come back. But for a lot of people, I've had several that have come back and said, well, I don't think I need to be here. I just came because I had a scheduled session.
Yeah.
So, and I think that speaks a lot to just how powerful this therapy is. And
Nice.
it's life-changing, not just for me, but for clients.
Well, Barbara, thank you so much for being a part of this. I greatly appreciate it. And do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share this video. Let somebody know who may need it. So stay safe, be blessed. We'll see you next time.